everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the second episode of 5 on 5. Well, tonight's episode is very special for me because I'm going to talk to somebody who has built an empire with 600 employees, starting from just 2 employees in a span of few months. And this episode is all the more special because I have known this person for last 18 years. Yes, that's true. He's an old friend. We have done our engineering together. We have been partners in crime. We have kind of grown up together. So it's a proud moment for me having him on the show and talking to him about his journey. And he's indeed a reservoir of talent, skills, adventure, and great looks. So let's welcome Sidharth Kavalu, who is the founder and director of KODEGEAR Technologies. This is a company which deals with IT products and services. So, guys, these days, Sidharth lives in Canada, and it was very difficult for me to kind of balance his and my schedule and get this show for you guys. I'm sure his story is amazing and it will inspire millions and millions of entrepreneurs around. So let's get started and let's get Sidharth on board. Hi, Sid. What's up? How are you? Welcome to 5 on 5.
Hey Reshma, I'm doing good. Thanks. How are you? Glad to be part of this finally.
I am so excited because you are my first male guest. I don't think I would have had anybody other than you as my first male guest.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm curious to know why it was so important that you wanted me as the first male guest. So,
I in fact believe that you should have been on the other side of the screen because you're so good at it. I mean, you are everything somebody would want to see on a screen. Except for your hair. What's wrong with your hair? Tell me.
Well, I've had different tasks that I've performed in my life. I've been a pilot, I've been an entrepreneur, I've been an employee, and recently I also became a hairstylist when I tried to cut my own hair.
Oh my God.
And judging by the results, you can see that I'm not really good at it. So I'm never going.
I mean, this is the role. This is the role. Don't ever try playing hereafter.
Yeah, I mean, you realize how important essential services are, when you try to do it by yourself and you suck at it. So
I have just given such a lovely intro of you, Sidharth, which also includes great looks. And then you come up looking like this.
I'm trying to go for the nerd look, because started a new life, new journey. Let's see how it goes. But I'm hoping my hair should be back to its full length within the next couple of months, and we'll probably do a follow-up call after that.
Okay, I am very excited for this show because most of men around believe that this is gonna be an all-women show and a man-bashing show. So I'm happy that you're finally here and we are proving everyone wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to see how it goes, and I'm also curious to know why men kind of feel threatened that they're going to be put on a platform where women are going to bash them.
Around the world. Okay. You are one of those who represent, I think, millions and millions of entrepreneurs who wake up every morning with a dream and then go on, to face those challenges, to face those hurdles with faith and determination, and then go on to make it big in the world of business. So their stories are untold, their faces are unknown. So what I'm trying to do here is get their side of stories because we only see the final product. We don't really know what's gone behind making it, the faces behind that beautiful product, what we see every single day. It could be a small product, a big one. I mean, whatever we see outside, it's the product of someone's hard work, someone's faith, someone's dreams. So I believe that everybody who comes here on this show represents those millions of entrepreneurs who do this every single day.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I think this is super important because whenever people look at entrepreneurs or successful people in itself, even entrepreneurs, people who work at high levels of company, you always associate them with well-known names like Steve Jobs or let's say Barack Obama or something of that sort. But the problem with going with that kind of route is you're already comparing yourself to somebody who's achieved so much success that you don't see the path that they have taken to reach there. So it makes a lot more sense for you to look within your own community and your own neighborhood. It could be your city, your own town, or wherever you are and see how people have emulated success. So that gives you a little bit of hope, and it takes away the apprehensions of knowing whether you'll make it or not. So it gives you a much more simpler baseline to see where you should start off, and how you move ahead and how you build in the world of business or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and this show has no script, it has no format. So you can just bear it all here and just speak your heart out, speak your soul out. I mean, you can just say
Oh,
what you
absolutely.
want to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
Sid, you are a software engineer, you are a commercial pilot and a businessman. Out of all the three roles, which one you like the most?
I think I like being a businessman the most, because that's something that's really close to me. I've always liked to be in some sort of a leadership role, right from school or even in college. So I like to take part in things where you lead and you get to mold people's mindsets and thought processes. And at the same time, if you can build a great product and a great service, that's the easiest way to bring about a change in millions of people's lives. Like, business, in fact, is one of the easiest, I wouldn't say the easiest, it is the most impactful and effective ways of bringing about change in people's lives. I've seen this within my own organization, where I had a lot of my team members who came from pretty simple backgrounds, and the kind of successes that they've reached in their personal and professional lives is remarkable. And even including my partners, they were not people who came with a silver spoon or something of that
Yeah,
sort, or they
aware.
were not alumni of major colleges or anything of that sort. They came from very humble beginnings, and having seen them grow and mature into the kind of roles that they're in today, and the sort of financial success, and the general perception of who they are in society, is one of the most rewarding factors. And of course, I mean, at the end of the day, you do a business so that you can make some sort of monetary rewards out of it, right? So all of it put together, that's something really great. I also enjoyed being a pilot as well, but that's a different story
We are going to
altogether.
talk about that a little later. So
Mm-hmm.
I think now I'm more interested to know what is that you've been watching on Netflix, because you watch a lot of intelligent stuff. We all know, we have known each other from college, so we know what we exactly watch, we read. So what are you watching these days?
Yeah, so the last series that I actually finished watching was Last Dance. It was about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls
Oh,
final championship winning season. And I always been fascinated by seeing what people have done. I mean, pretty much similar to what the show that you're doing on. It's always good to know the backstory behind what people go through, the kind of success that they've emulated, the challenges that they've faced, and you can connect to people on a much more personal level when you understand that they're no different from you, and they have the same sort of struggles and demons in their head that they have to deal with, and still go and perform at their very best. So even on Netflix, a majority of shows that I watch are generally documentaries, but sometimes I also don't mind watching a few series that have business or political lessons. So one of them that I
I'm
enjoyed
sure
for
you
some
do.
time
I'm
was House.
sure. I'm sure. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we have kind of learned watching knowledgeable stuff from you. So I don't think we would ever watch anything other than Bollywood in our back college days. I think it's all because of you. We started reading intelligent stuff and watching some boring, but yeah, good stuff.
No, I mean, it's really fascinating to know about people's lives and stories, right? Like, let's say, for example, if you're ever in a situation that you've never been in and it's a challenge that you're facing, um, you will always be much better prepared if you've already read or seen somebody else do it. So it makes your decision making ability a lot better, and
Now,
you have a
now
much
that
more higher.
now that I'm an entrepreneur myself, I know why. It was so important for us to connect with this kind of people, know about their stories long back, which you started at least. Say we have known each other for what, 17, 18 years now. You started much earlier.
Yeah.
It took us some time to
Yeah.
get into that zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and this is not something that's predominantly for people who are in business, but in any aspect of life, it's always good to know more about other people and see what
Yes,
they've been through.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
the more knowledge you have, the more power you have. It just comes down to that.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that. And since I have known you since college days, okay, like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, 18 years maybe. How old are we?
Pretty old.
Okay, let's not get there. We'll have to make
Uh-huh.
a separate episode for that. Okay,
Oh
so
yeah.
see, we have all known you as someone who came from pretty rich family, a well-to-do background, and someone who have had it all in college. So we have seen you wear the best of brands. I mean, I'm talking about 18 years back when we all used to, admire you, and we actually learned a lot of things about brand from you because you wore them. You were the one who spoke about it, and you were the one who drove the best of cars and the bikes back then. So coming from this kind of background, without you don't have, your family doesn't have any kind of business exposure, if I may say so, and then
Hmm?
you from being a software engineer, being a commercial pilot, wanting to be a businessman, walking that path, taking that direction. um, when I know that entrepreneurship is something which can actually suck the life out of your soul, it's not going to be an easy road, which you obviously knew. And then why did you
Hmm.
take it when you could have had it all easy and on the plate? Why did you take this path?
Okay, so I'll kind of split this answer to different segments. The first one, that's absolutely true. I come from a pretty privileged family. My parents have been very kind and they've always provided me the best of things. I think the biggest advantage that I have over there compared to a lot of other kids growing up is they always gave me access to knowledge. So I always had a huge set of encyclopedias, or I had access to cable TV at a very young age. I think we were one of the first few families in India who had access to the internet. So that opened up
And even
a
Legos,
huge,
I had never heard of Legos
yeah.
until then. Now
So
my
yeah,
son plays, so I know.
yeah. So when you look at all of that, it's
For us
definitely a very
Legos,
privileged.
like, पता नहीं यार ये क्या किस चीज से खेल रहा है? What is this?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember I think I was probably in second grade or something when I got my first Lego set, and it was a pretty small set. So I would spend most of my time looking at the catalog and
So privileged.
daydreaming about
So privileged.
daydreaming about the day when I can buy these bigger sets, all right. And funny enough, when I grew really old, I ended up doing that. So getting back to what I was saying in terms of family background, yes, all of that. I mean, it would definitely appear that I came from a very rich family, but reality is we were upper middle class compared to a lot of other people. We were in a much better financial stage, but also at the same time my parents were extremely concerned and overprotective of me. So even though I had all the facilities that I ever needed, they always made sure unknowingly that they wouldn't give me a lot of freedom. So for a very long time, not for a very long time, I've never got pocket money in my life. I wasn't allowed to spend outside. So anything I wanted, I would always have to ask them, and
But you wore
I'd
good
get,
brands. You drove best cars.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think I was allowed to use the car, but it was only on limited access to it. All right. So
I, I
anything that
remember
happened,
I remember seeing you when you drove the car for the first time. I saw you and I was like, I went back home and I told my mom, I want to learn driving. And my mom was like, why?
uh-huh.
Because I said, my friend Sid can drive and he's what, 17, 18-year old. I am 17, 18-year old. I need to drive. I need to learn this skill. So she was like, Sid has got a car. His father can buy him more cars. What about you? I said, I'm gonna build an ability to buy a car.
Yeah. My dad definitely did not buy me any cars or even let me drive. Okay, so the only time I used to get it to college is when they weren't at home. So all the things that I've done that you think are really cool is when my parents weren't at home and I had to sneak it out here. So yeah. So getting back to
So the
why
question
I
was,
chose,
how come you chose to be an entrepreneur when you could have had it all on the plate,
yeah,
sir?
like I said, if I hadn't taken this route, it would have pretty much been the same life that I had in college and school, right? I told you, I had everything that I need, but then you don't have autonomy, you don't have your own freedom, and I think that is super duper important with what you want in life. Let's say, for example, it's a really crude way of making a comparison, but I've had a lot of female friends who got married into very rich families, like rich as in you probably have an unlimited bank account where the next 10 generation would never have to work, and they would still be so miserable and never happy with it just because they have to live within the confines of society and family. So you have unlimited access to banking, but you don't have the ability to make your own decisions or choose your own path. So if you can relate to something like that, that's what I'll tell you. All right, it was either that life or else
Why
I'm going to
me?
struggle. Because you've probably come across women
I have
who've been through similar journeys like
I
that, right?
have built my own business right from scratch.
I
So
was saying in terms of met
you have
women
been
who've
an
been through
audience
that
to it.
journey.
You have been an audience
Yeah.
manager.
Yeah, I was referring to having come across women who might have had a
Yes,
similar
yes,
situation like that.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so it came to that, either I'll have everything without freedom or I'll struggle, but it's still going to be on my ways and my terms. So that's pretty much the gist of how I ended up doing this.
Okay, okay. Tell us something about your first job, Sid. What was it like? What was the learning from your first job?
Yeah, so my first job was with a sports branding IT firm, and the only reason I got in there is because I was waiting to get into an airline as a commercial pilot, and one of my fellow pilots recommended me over there. He said it's a really cool job. It's a very young and a party-loving, fun-loving company. You should go there. I said, okay, might as well do something. It's a good way to earn pocket money. So I spent about 7 months over there.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, I that was probably a turning point in my life when I realized that what am I doing with my life? Because I still remember the first day I went to the office and I had my training session. Um, Once the training was over, I just went onto the terrace and I cried my eyes out because the job was so simple and I couldn't believe that they were paying me the kind of money that they were. I was like, this is not what I thought I would be doing in my life, or this is not where I
Can
should
you
have been
can
with.
you tell us what was your first salary?
Yeah, my first salary was about 20,000 rupees, which for that time, and considering that I had just finished college and I didn't get placed in college, well, was pretty decent. I have no complaints about the salary, but honestly speaking, if you ask me, I think they should have paid me 5,000 rupees. I mean, the job was that simple.
Hmm. So you didn't have much to
So
do. That's what you're saying.
I did have, but the task itself was pretty simple that anybody could do it. For all that, it could have been automated, or you could probably train a monkey to do it.
They
I
didn't
mean,
need a
no
software
disrespect to.
engineer to do that job.
Yeah, they didn't need it, but then again, it's a company and they said we'll pay you, and I went ahead. So I can't blame the company. It was the decision that I took. But that's when I realized that I got to really get my life in order and take things seriously, because until then I
What
was
what
pretty
was your
easygoing. I
what
didn't.
was your learning from there? What was your learning from your first job?
Yeah, my biggest learning is this is not what I should be doing in life, and I really need to grow up and mature now.
Okay. And what was that moment like when you decided to be an entrepreneur? Did you have that one moment which we call trigger point of life? Did you have that one moment? Because I have had it, so I want to know if you have had it.
Yeah.
We have never spoken
So
about
my
this
answers go.
before. We have
Yeah,
never
yeah, yeah.
spoken
So
about it.
my Yeah, we have spoken about it, but here's the thing, all right. Unlike most other entrepreneurs who were very clear about what they wanted, or they wanted to be entrepreneurs at a very young age, my case was quite different. I was working with a really cool tech startup, and I was very happy with those guys. And in fact, I've always worked in a company and run my business at the same time for the past, I think, about 9 or 10 years. So unlike most people, I would work at a job regularly and then I'd spend the remaining part building my business. And I've had no life outside of that, to be honest. But uh, to answer your question, how it happened was it's just a sheer course of luck, or probably timing. So the company that I was working for wanted to expand their team outside of the US, and they didn't want to set up their own company. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me do it for you. It'll be a win-win for both of us. So I saw an opportunity and I capitalized on it.
Okay.
And then when I saw that there's a lot of potential over here, I realized, hey, you know what, if we can do it with one company, why not do it with others? And I reached out to a lot more other startups who had the same challenge of hiring people, or getting the best of talent and working with great minds. And little by little I built up, but at the same time I would still do my regular day job. So I had my job that was going on, and then I'd work on the weekends or I'd work at night building my business up. And I absolutely loved it. So
Did you ever
the
think that you from a small parallel startup what you had, you'd go
Mhm.
on to build a business empire with 600 employees at that point of time, and in a very short span of time? People take years and
Not
years to build something like that.
Yeah, not really, but here's the thing, and I don't want to sound cocky or brash about it, but I always knew that I was going to do something really big in life. All right, I mean, from a very young age, I was quite certain of what I was going to do. Not about what I was going to do, but where I would be. I just didn't know how I would get there, and I never thought that something this small would grow into such a huge organization with so many people. But the credit also goes to my team and my partners. So I've worked with some really amazing people who had their own companies, and we've all collaborated together, build it to that level. the other reason why I started putting a lot more time into my business rather than my regular job is I realized that I'd reached a saturation level at that job as well. There wasn't really a lot of progression and I wasn't seeing a lot of growth. And it was kind of very frustrating that I was always trying to do something more or, try to figure out what else I can do over here. And it wasn't leading to anything. That's when I realized, why waste all that energy over there? Let me put it in my business and my company. And that's how the company took off. It's all about trying 100 different things, and there's that one thing that might click.
Might work.
So yeah, the secret to success is you have to get comfortable with failing time and time again, because
I would agree.
At the end of the day, yeah, luck is something that you don't control, and the only way you can see success is you have to get lucky, and the only way you'll get lucky is you have to keep trying. That's pretty much the essence of success in life.
When there is an idea which nobody believes in, and it's only you who's going around talking about it, believing in the idea, and then it's a gamble. And I think if somebody's wanting to put in money into it, it's not because of the idea itself. I think it's because of the faith you have in your idea.
Yeah, here's I'll actually give a different version of it. All right, most people, if they're ever willing to invest in your business, is probably not because of just the idea. It's probably because of the people in it. Yes. So let's say if somebody's going to invest in your company, for that matter, that it probably has less to do with the idea, but more with you as a person, and they believe in your vision of taking it somewhere, right?
Yes, true. Okay, so
because any idea can be replicated.
Yes, absolutely. So my next question is, this is very interesting. What was the first gift you gave yourself when you knew that you could afford it?
Oh yeah, that's a pretty simple one. So for my 30th birthday, I've always liked precision engineering and well-made machines. So I have a really big passion for cars, bikes, and aircrafts as well. I mean, I've not reached a stage where I can buy my own aircraft right now. So for my 30th birthday, I bought a brand new Audi. And because a German car is something that at some point in my life I wanted to own, and that was fulfilled. The second thing that I wanted to get was I bought a Ducati Multistrada. It is the finest piece of Italian design and engineering, and I think it's one of the most exquisite looking motorcycles of all time. So that was a pretty huge purchase that I made, and to be honest, I never thought I'd be doing that this early in life.
Congratulations. Officially on this platform. Okay, my next question. My next question comes from my last female guest who was here, Shagun Behr. So she asked, there's one question which is always asked to female entrepreneurs, why not to male entrepreneurs? So I decided to ask this to you. Can men have it all? So which means, can men have a great work life and a great family life, contribute equally on both the sides? Like a work-life balance, sort of. Can men have it all?
No, I don't think. Let me put it this way. Okay, irrespective of men or women, if you're passionate about building up a brand, a profession, and trying to do that at the same time with a family, that's just not going to happen. Doesn't matter what gender you are. We are probably not going to face the same kind of scrutiny if you don't give that much attention towards family as women would. But that's just the nature of society and the way it is, right? So if men are more focused on their career progression or their profession, it's lauded as a great thing. But if a woman tries to do that, they will always be measured against, saying, okay, great, you've achieved all of this, but family is what is supposed to be super important, and that's where your focus should be. It's just an unfortunate situation to be in, but to answer your question, no, there is no such thing as work-life balance. I mean, if I hadn't met the right partner in my life, I think I would have probably never been married or even ended up in a divorce long time early, because I've spent long hours. Even the funny thing is, the day I was getting married as well, I was working. So I had my team actually with their laptops on the stage behind me, because we had a critical issue at work that had to be fixed no matter what. So while I was getting married, I was still working. And you can probably imagine how.
I remember working on the day my sister got married. I remember working on the day my brother got married, and the entire family went against me.
Yeah, so that's how it is, right? it comes down to, how supportive your partner or your family is. In that way, I've been really lucky that I have a partner, and my family has pretty much been very hands off. Probably society wouldn't think very highly of me, but their opinion really doesn't matter a lot. But yeah, it is a lot more difficult for women to pull it off. It's just the nature of, how we are. It's very unfortunate, but there's no way you can have, work and family life balance. It just doesn't exist.
So I'm not going to ask a solution. Okay, so my next question to you, Sid, is I was recently watching an interview of Brian Chesky, who's the founder of Airbnb. So he says during the initial days of his business, he regrets believing in investors who told him that an idea of a stranger living with a stranger is very strange and it's a complete failed idea. So when investors told him this, he believed in them, and he, for kind of some time, he didn't really think about doing this. And then one fine day he realized if he doesn't believe in his idea, if he doesn't believe in his module, nobody else would. So he decided to go ahead and still do it and give that experience to people of a stranger living with a stranger. So how important you think it is for you to believe in your own idea and not change even a bit of it, irrespective of what your team or your investors or anybody else is telling you? I mean, that is how I think Brian went on to be a part of 191 countries around the world where Airbnb exists right now.
Yeah, see, the issue I have with stories like this is, I mean, honestly speaking, I completely agree with what the investor said. When I originally, I mean, not when I, even when I think of the idea of having a stranger living in my house with just the way we are, I would have probably never invested in a business like that. But 10 years later, I would surely regret looking at how Airbnb is done right now. But here's what you've got to understand, right? If you, I don't want to give the politically correct or the motivationally correct answer of saying if you have a great idea or if you have a great product, you should believe in it and go ahead with it, right? Yes, if you genuinely think that it is going to make a pretty huge impact in the market, you should surely go and do it, all right? But then for every one success story that you see in 100, you'll see 99 other ideas that really don't cater to what the market wants or what it needs, right? Okay. A great example that I'll give you is everybody uses an iPad today. I mean, there's no other tablet that people actually prefer having other than an Apple iPad. But it was Microsoft that got the tablet into the market a lot earlier. I mean, they were well ahead in terms of innovation or anything that they had to compare to Apple, but market timing, the audience wasn't mature enough. And so the product ultimately failed. But a couple of years later, when Steve Jobs did the same thing, the market picked up. So at times you really have a great idea, but the market is not ready to accept something like that, right? So would you say that the idea is a failure? No, I mean, probably, or it might be a success later on.
I have had this experience. So let me tell you something what I experienced. So when I present a business module to investors, they tell me, can you change this to suit this clients, or can you change this to cater to this kind of market? So, or in fact, I have got most ridiculous suggestions also: change the brand name, or change the whole portfolio of the company, change absolutely what you do. I mean, there's so many. When you present a business module, okay, I understand, there's 10 to 15, 20% of a scope for somebody who's putting in money to talk about. But is it okay to change like a 70, 80% of what you are actually trying to?
No, not really. I think then that's the wrong sort of investor. See, what we need to understand is investors are like any other relationship you have in life, alright? Whether it's a spouse or a friend, or let's say even they're a business acquaintance, and at times you don't really match with your vibe or your way of doing things. So on matters like that, you just can't work with investors like that, because today they might have an issue with what you're doing, and they expect you to completely overhaul and do something else, and then tomorrow they might have an equally ridiculous idea, right? Right. So at the end of the day, you end up kind of being at a job, working with a really bad manager.
True.
I mean, you might think you're an entrepreneur.
So my next question is, women in business want to know, do men in business feel the same social pressure to not cry or to pretend and not cry over losses and failures? So do you cry, or you just pretend, humko nahi fark pad raha hai, I'm okay, I'm great with this? Or you do cry behind the doors?
Yeah, interesting question. All right. So I'm not somebody who shows a lot of emotion. So I can't speak for all men in general, but me personally, I'm not somebody who shows emotions if I'm upset or sad or something like that. I either learn to deal with it by myself, or I have a very close circle of friends that um, I would probably talk to. I mean, mental health has been something that's gaining a lot of prominence lately, and it's something that I've tried to adopt as well. But uh, getting to the question that you directly asked me, there's multiple aspects of it. All right. Yes, men aren't allowed to show emotion in the same way that, let's say, women can, and that's just the nature of business. All right. You can't do anything about it. Similar to how to a previous question that you asked, women face a lot of scrutiny if they focus more on their careers rather than their family life. Right. Men are always expected to be like the strong leader, and who always has everything figured out, and you can't really be put in a situation where you're allowed to portray weakness or something of that sort. So but we're human too,
And I think I feel women go through a lot when it comes to emotions, because what happens is, I'm just talking about an Indian household. Uh, if
Mhm.
a husband, a wife, both are working, but you still have the expectation that men should always do well, irrespective of the wife is working or not working. And I think in
Yep.
a way, even wife would expect, your partner would also expect you to do a lot more, contribute a lot more in the house than than they do. Because I feel it's
Yeah.
still a privilege for women to, okay, have their money saved and spend it on their other things than on the essentials. And even today, men is expected to spend on the essentials. So, what do you think about it?
Yeah. See, absolutely. Okay. I don't like being politically correct ever. All right. The simple question I always ask whenever the issue of gender comes up is, I always say, even till this day, you go to any matrimonial site, or you talk to anybody who's looking for a future partner. The first thing they're going to ask you is, what is his salary, or how much is he making, or where does he work?
Yes.
I mean, irrespective of, I mean, doesn't
Yeah.
matter what
I mean,
level of
what you're
society.
trying to say is the women already is earning like 5-figure salary, but she still wants to know what the
Yeah.
man is getting.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, they could be earning, 6 or 7 figures as well, all right. At the end of the day, and this is it's more of a biological issue, all right. You can't wipe away thousands of years of how
But
a structure has been set up.
do you think women are very much responsible for creating that kind of culture back home? Because I think
Uh,
that those expectations do come majority from women too, majorly
no,
from.
see, yeah, I, I don't like to place blames based on people's gender as such, all right. But it also comes with the territory, right? If a woman is, why does a woman want somebody who's earning well and who's well settled? Because what does a man provide in life?
Exactly. This is
They
why
they
I'm asking you:
provide.
do you blame women for wanting that and not looking at a lot of other qualities of a man, or is it
No, not really.
okay? You guys are okay with it?
Let's say, yeah. See, let's say, for example, I meet somebody who doesn't have that expectation of me. All right, like that woman really doesn't care how much I earn. Like, but me as a man in general, I would be
Okay.
in conflict with myself if I'm not doing something, because what if you look at the traditional structure of what you're supposed to do, that is what you're supposed to do. So even if I remove women out of the equation, and if I have nothing to do, I'm just going to be a bum, and I'm not going to be happy about it. You
Okay. So
need you
what
need
you're
a
saying?
focus, a goal in life.
So what you're saying is both men and women are equally responsible for creating this kind of situation back home.
Physical labor to be productive, right? Yeah. I mean, in the past, why is it that all jobs were held by men predominantly? Because they were all physically intensive. But the huge boom that IT or tech that is bought in is women are as competent, or if not better than men in that case. So that's where we're moving to a new paradigm and shift.
Yes.
100, 200 years later, will this be an issue? I don't know.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but I
Such a
wouldn't blame
fantastic
women for it.
answer.
Even if
I
women
love
were
that.
not involved, men would still be the same.
Okay, my next question is one thing you wish you knew when you first started your business. And I think this is a very important question to address because people who are starting now should know what
Hmm.
they should not be doing.
Okay. So whenever people talk to me about why they want to get into businesses, they say that they want to be their own boss. All right. So here I'm going to break that myth once and for all. You are never your own boss when you run your own company. You know why? Because when you're in your job, the only person you report to is your manager or your higher up. All right. When you run your own company, you are responsible for your staff, your team. That is, if they're unhappy and they leave, you've got to pacify them to make sure that they stay back. You're at the mercy of your client. The client might make ridiculous requirements that's just impossible to fulfill. You're still answerable to him. And at the same time, if you're a really big company, you're answerable to your shareholders. Okay, so even though they don't do anything, but just because they invested in your company, they think they have a say in everything.
I think
All right.
they are the one you answer the most.
Yeah. So if you ever think you're going to be your own boss and you want to start your own business, yeah, that's just not going to happen. You're much better off being in a job, and that's not a bad thing either. I've done both, and I've been pretty happy with both.
What you're trying to say is that was the first thought when you first started. So people, please don't come in with that thought that you are your own boss and you work yourself.
You are never your own boss, all right? Like, how can you be your own boss? You're servicing somebody else, right? So they're the boss.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other important lesson that I wish I'd learned early on is probably learn about taxes and how to invest money. That's something that everybody should learn as early as possible in life.
Like it said, if you wanna become very rich and get into that 2% of the world population who's rich, you got to earn when you sleep, while you sleep.
Pretty broad subject. I don't want to get into it, but you need to know what the value of money is and how it works. What is inflation? What is fiat currency, etc., etc. And like beyond the scope of this conversation, but yeah, the sooner you understand that, the much better decisions you'll make, because your money will grow while you're sleeping.
You are pretty good at it. I'm sure you very soon are gonna be one of those 2% population in the world who's there.
Yeah, well, looking at the radical shift that I've taken in my life by moving to a different place and starting from the ground up, only time will tell. Let's see.
Okay, tell me about this. I mean, this is something which I wanted to ask you right in the beginning of the show. So you were doing your software engineering, okay? And then you decide to take a break and fly to US and do your pilot training. What happened? I mean, I never knew this is what you wanted to do, and then I hear of you flying to US and getting yourself trained to be a commercial pilot. What was it?
Yeah, so one thing about me personally is, I'm an opportunist, all right. So anytime I see an opportunity, I always want to be the first to grab it. So the reason I even went flying is, it was always a childhood dream for me to be a pilot, because pilots are cool and you make a lot of money and everything. All right. So I kind of knew that. I thought, a
lot of beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Kingfisher had pretty much, made a really good statement back then as well. All right. So. But the reason, the path that led me to doing that is, I failed a year in engineering. Okay, so I flunked my engineering exams. I had 1 year with basically nothing to do, and I was like, okay, what do I do? And I always knew that I wanted to be a pilot, and I'm like, well, I have a year's time. Why not make the most of it? And my dad pushed me to it. So
I think you tried hard to fail. You tried hard to fail, so that you could be a pilot.
Not really. I could have finished the smarter thing would have been to probably finish engineering and then do it. But I made the most of the opportunity. I went to the US. I stayed there for a year, finished my training, got my commercial pilot's license, came back to India. And the important thing I did is I still finished my graduation because I only had a year left.
Yes.
So that's the story behind how I ended up being a pilot.
Sidharth, though you were average student in college, but you still were the most knowledgeable. According to me, you were the most intelligent one, witty, smart, cunning in a good way. And I think you have kind of slowed down now. There's a sense of calmness. There's a sense of
slowed down in terms of my ambition, no, but a sense of calmness in terms of dealing with things, yes, definitely. I was known for having a very quick temper, and I still do to a certain extent even now. But I try to be a little more thoughtful and mindful of what I say, or the things I do, unlike before. But in terms of my ambition, no way. I don't think it slowed me down in any way.
What do you do for your mental health? What do you do for your mental health?
It's extremely good for my mental health, because there was a stage where when business was severely impacted because of COVID and all of that, it kind of puts in a really difficult situation to be in, and learning how to deal with that has probably helped me quite a bit.
Okay, my next question is again, we are going in one direction, so this is something else. So I was recently watching the interview of the CEO of MasterCard, Ajay Banga. So he says that, of course, he lives in US, and he says that when an entrepreneur goes to China and he says, I want to start a business. So they lay a red carpet and they welcome him with open arms. And when the entrepreneur would go to India and say, I want to start my own business, people would start putting red tapes, not the red carpet. Every startup in India should have a plan A, B, C, and D, because he can be sabotaged by the politicians or by bureaucrats, and there is so much which is going on in India, and there's so much a startup has to deal with. So, what is your say on this?
Okay, so many different aspects of how you can look at it. All right, first and foremost, India can never be China, no matter what. Even in 100 or 200 years, it's just impractical and impossible, because China is a homogeneous country, which means they have one ethnicity set of people, one, not just one, but a majority common language, one common belief, and one common culture. All right, so it is a lot easier for, let's say, governments or society in general to move in a certain direction when you have a very homogeneous population. In India, we have people from there's just way too many differences in India. It could start from something as broad as religion, then it moves to culture, and then it goes to language and individual states. So India within itself trying to find common ground to achieve something much bigger is going to be really, really difficult. Let's say, for example, some future government, that's run by entrepreneurs ends up making business investor friendly, and have a similar roadmap to how things are being done in China. That government will lose power within the next week or so, because no matter what you do, 50% of the group will always be opposed to it. And these changes require a lot of radical changes that have to be put in, which is just not possible in India. The other aspect to that is, I think in India, the kind of industry that you're in also plays a much bigger aspect in terms of what is feasible. Anything that is technology oriented in India, yes, has a much more higher chance of success rate, because you don't have a lot of regulations governing it. Unlike, let's say, if you want to open a bar and restaurant or a brewery or something like that, because the more regulations you have, the more bureaucracy that gets involved, and that's where things get really difficult. So as long as bureaucracy is not involved, things are fine. But at the same time, you got to understand that India is the largest market in terms of starting something new. So I can say with strong conviction that if you want to get wealthy, India is the place to do business within the next decade. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you might point out saying that if that's the case, why are you out of India right now? But I have a much more longer. Yeah, that is part of a 5-year plan that I'll tell you once.
I'm not even asking you that, because I'm sure you'll be back to India and just doing as good as you're doing in Canada.
Yeah. So in the gist of it,
I also know you have very less time, and it makes me proud that me being your very old friend, we have grown up together. I still had to take an appointment from you, and minute to minute hisab dena pada tha. So I am just counting my minutes so that you have your next meeting. So I'm going to ask you my last question.
Okay.
That's, do you indulge in luxuries, and what kind of it? Cars?
Oh yeah. Oh man,
Massages.
I've been known to splurge quite a lot, but never on debt, never on credit. So my car and bike were two of my biggest purchases that I did, and then pretty much anything that I wanted as a kid that I couldn't get back then, I've splurged on it. So Lego, I have probably one of the largest Lego collections in India without a doubt. So I spent a lot of money on that. But the best luxury I've had was a road trip that me and my school friend took to Las Vegas in 2017. And we both drove a Ferrari and a Lamborghini on the racetrack. And then after that,
where was I?
I'm not sure. I think you're probably busy building your company up. And after that, we flew a stunt plane together, and it was really, really good. So yeah, spend money on experiences, don't buy things. That's my advice.
You are in one of the best clubs, huh?
Long way to go, Rishma.
Fly. Forget about driving. Now I have to go back and tell my mom, now Sidharth can fly. I want to fly.
Well, if you ever come down to Canada, the airport is very close to my place, and they have introductory flight lessons. So you're always welcome to try that out.
Definitely. I'm going to do that soon. Okay, now my next it's not a question actually. So I have made
Mhm.
this thing, wherein you as a guest can ask one question to the next guest. So I'm gonna take it to my next guest. So what would that one question be?
Oh, okay. Like, can I at least know what industry they're in, or just a broad spectrum, so I can make the question relevant to them?
Everyone who's coming here is an entrepreneur.
Okay. Everybody who's coming was an entrepreneur. All right. Here's what. All right. I'll give them the option of being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Would they take that opportunity, or would they still go and build their own business?
Okay, I'll do that. I'll make sure
If so, why? Yeah.
I ask the question to the next guest, and I'm
Okay.
doing this so that you watch it.
Yeah. Absolutely. What was the question that the previous guest asked me, by the way? I mean, I did watch the
Can
episode, but
can men have it all?
no one can have it all.
I would agree with that. No one can have it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this small little thing which is known as 5-on-5 rapid fire round. Okay, so you
Okay.
got to rate yourself for
Mhm.
5 being the best and 1 being the worst.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to be very quick with this. Okay,
Okay.
so you want to breathe?
All right. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the first one is probability of Sid being calm around beautiful women.
5.
5. I don't believe this. Okay. Sid as a romantic man.
Oh, 10 on 5.
10 on 5. I don't know
Yeah.
what is the most romantic thing you've done for Neha?
The fact that I still make her feel like I've seen her for the first time. Even till this day, she tells me that.
Okay. Let's talk about this once we're done.
Yeah.
Chances of Sid getting bashed after he has cooked a lovely meal for his wife.
You know what? You're making these questions really easy. Okay, so she loves my cooking. You gotta give me something challenging. I'll give a 4 for that, maybe.
4 on 5. Okay. I
Yeah.
know you could cook, yeah.
Yeah, I can cook, and we've been doing quite a lot of cooking together over here.
If
Okay.
you would ever cook for your friends back in
Oh,
college,
they'll definitely give me a 1. If I have
you
to cook for my friend, they'll give me a 1.
we would have bashed you. Forget about the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Probability of Sid wanting to go back to his college days with less money and more fun.
Less money and more fun. Oh, I never had any money. Probably not at the same college. 2.
No. So 2. Okay. You don't want to go
Yeah.
back to college days, live those moments.
Not really. I told you, right? Contrary to what people thought, I never had the finances to, I don't know, probably go to the canteen or do things like that. So that's part of the reason I became an entrepreneur.
What
I
did you
just like
do in
financial
canteen the
independence.
whole day? Because I always saw you in the canteen.
Yeah, we would just hang out there. Okay, I never paid for anything or eat anything. Yeah, not to the same college.
Share की है.
Yeah. I never want to go back to that life, man. Horrible.
Okay, the chances of okay, so my last thing is, where will you take me when I come to Canada? Places to visit.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons why I moved to Canada is it has a lot of natural beauty around, all right, and it also has the world's largest underground shopping mall. So the entire city is one gigantic shopping mall, and I know you're a
I've
big
seen
fan
that
of
in
shopping.
Germany in my last visit. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's something that you would definitely love, and I'd be more than happy to take you around, and probably give you flying classes as well.
So Sid, it was so wonderful talking to you.
Hey, Rishma.
It's been, I mean, this is the first time actually we have spoken business so much. Though I have kind of spoken to you about my work, and I have taken advice and suggestions from you many a times. But I think this was like the very first time when you opened up about what it was like and your journey. And I hope that your journey can inspire a lot of other people out there who are watching this, and help them not do the same mistakes.
I'm more than happy if I've been able to reach out.
Yeah, so I'm so happy to have you, and all the very best for whatever you're planning to do next. And I think I'm gonna take a moment and on this platform let you know that okay, this is the first time I'm saying this, guys. For
Mhm.
me, you're not a friend, you're a family.
Oh, that is so sweet. Okay, I'm really glad that there are a few people, back from college that I'm still in touch and have such a close relationship with.
Always, always. I mean, you've been such a wonderful friend to me, and thank you so much, Sid, for doing this. I know you're very busy, but I have still taken 24 minutes extra from you. Thank you so much for
That's
that.
okay. I mean, what
And you
always
brought the hugs.
glad to have a quick. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a while since we can do that in reality. So funny how kind of times we're in.
Thank you so much. All the very best.
Thank you as well. Very kind of you to have such a wonderful time spent with us.